a deep dive into the lives and work of Hong Kong's crazy food and beverage industry leaders, hosted by The Beat Asia. This episode, we sit down and chat with burger enthusiast and tastemaker Michael Chan, the doctor turned founder of Asia's hottest burger brand, HONBO. Ranking as one of the best burgers in the world by Bloomberg magazine in 2020, HONBO is 6 years old and has made waves locally with its 4 sleek and yummy locations in Hong Kong. A newly opened store in Macau's Lisboeta Hotel in summer 22, and plans to bring the brand to Singapore. Listen to Michael's incredible story from the surgery table to the kitchen now, only on the Delish Guestlist. You've only been interviewed a few times now, by Lifestyle Asia, by Pacific Place as well.
I think back in 2017, I've been interviewed quite a lot of times.
Yep.
But over the years, I really want to shelve the narrative of my background and just focus more on the brand. That's why I stopped taking interviews personally.
So what inspired you to come over here?
Because I've never been on a podcast.
So it's an interesting sort of...
yeah, it's interesting.
Expedition.
It's better to actually speak for yourself than to tell someone the story and then they write it out so people can actually hear what I actually want to say. So I think it's a little bit different.
Do you think the story of HONBO is the story of Michael?
No. I think the story of HONBO is just the story of HONBO.
Story of HONBO.
Yeah.
But the interesting part about how it was created in 2017 or even the years before that, HONBO didn't just begin 6 years ago. It began, I guess, an idea in your head, that tickle. You didn't really feel comfortable in your previous career and you really wanted to...
I think what I feel comfortable, not comfortable in my previous career, and then the story of it is almost separate. It's just a coincidence that I, have that identity and, I was a doctor. But I think the story of HONBO itself is more interesting. If I am to think about a company that I want to build, right, and I want to last 100 years, it will last beyond me. So my story would not be significant in the grand scheme of things, if I think about it like that. That's why I think the story in its own is actually more interesting than my background. It's just so happened that my background have, a little bit of story behind it as well, I think.
So for people that don't know Michael Chan, let's start in the beginning.
So I was born in Hong Kong, and then I went to Vancouver to do high school. So I did 4 years of high school in Vancouver, and then I went to McGill, and then I did a Bachelor of Science degree, and then I did medical doctor degree afterwards. So, and then I did 2 years in LA, and I came back to Hong Kong. When I came back to Hong Kong, it wasn't really easy to get your doctor's degree kind of transfer back to Hong Kong. So you have to redo all these licensing tests and stuff. And I just decided that I don't really want to do it. And I didn't really think that doctoring was really up my alley because of my genetically lack of empathy. So I just thought that it would be easier. And I really wanted to start my own business. So that's how I started HONBO. In 2017, it was before Shake Shack and Five Guys were in Hong Kong. And I was in LA for 2 years and, North America for all these years. And I really think that North American food is really underrepresented in Hong Kong. And people always think when it comes to North American food, it's always like Ruby Tuesday, McDonald's and KFC, right? But to me, North American food is much more diverse. And I think that craft burgers are a thing that doesn't exist in Hong Kong. So I kind of just took a gambit that I think Shake Shack and Five Guys is going to come to Hong Kong. So I opened a burger place. It's because I think that there's no craft burger place in Hong Kong. And if they are to come to town, it would only be beneficial to me because they would propagate the burger culture. And the other thing about burgers that I think is universally very easily understandable because McDonald's everywhere. You don't have to explain to people what is a piece of meat in between, 2 buns. So for me, I guess there was like a business decision and a gamble to just do burger. Because I think if you actually do it properly, if you make your own bun and then you kind of do your meat yourself, you can have a really great product and people will understand it. And that's how we started. So we started in 2017 and then in 2018, I think Five Guys opened and then Shake Shack opened right after. So it's kind of like we bet on something that's going to happen, and it happened, and it turned out to be amazing for us.
Do you feel like living in North America at the time qualified you to sort of be an arbiter, like a representation of North American food in Hong Kong? If you weren't living in Canada and the US, do you think you'd have still come back to Hong Kong and represented another country?
I think burgers was just something, I wanted to do something in food and beverage. I think just burgers something that's just really accessible and very understandable universally. Because if you want to open a restaurant in Hong Kong, you want something that people can understand. If I'm to open a barbecue place in Hong Kong, I really don't think that I will have the audience like burgers have. And, we grew up with McDonald's, and we grew up with all these, fast food places. And I always think that there needs to be a better version of the fast food version of what you eat at McDonald's. And I think craft burger places in Hong Kong, there's few and far between. But the people who actually have these places, they are not actually representing what it actually is, like the food actually is, right? Because I was in LA, I was in New York City. I understand it's such a simple food, but there's so much variation of a take that you can do on it. And when I was back in Hong Kong in 2017, I think most of the people, they took like the really extravagant route of, representing burger. It was like foie gras, sea urchin, caviar. But for me, I think if you are to compete on an international level, you have to do the basic product really, really well. And that's what we started to do. So that when I first started to have this concept of doing a burger place, we import our own meat.
Wisconsin beef, correct?
Yeah. So we make our own buns. We make our own potato buns.
as well, yeah.
And then all the sauces we make from scratch. Even the pickles is from scratch. So we figured that if we actually do everything from scratch, which is actually what all of these North American or Canadian craft burger places do, we can have a really, really strong product. And luckily, we actually can achieve all that. We found a baker in Hong Kong who can contract bake our recipe, and then we found the beef that we want. And the beef that we actually use now is actually an older cow from Wisconsin, so it's really, really beefy and have a really nice taste to it. So everything added together makes, I think, one of the best burger we have in Hong Kong.
It's my favorite burger.
Awesome.
Nothing beats it. What is it about the quality of a HONBO burger that sets you apart? Is it the education that you need to do, or is it really you're getting this real fresh product? It's not imported buns, it's not imported patties. You can taste the real flavors coming and made in Hong Kong. Do you really need to teach people, or do you just have them eat it and they know exactly, right, this tastes better than anything?
I think you have to eat it once and you go eat something else, and then you'll know it's better. If a normal person can taste that it's better than something else, the amount of margin that it has, the work that have to go in to make it taste better is insurmountable. I don't know if it makes sense. Like if you go to Spaghetti House and you go to Peachy, right? And then you realize that Peachy tastes better. It's probably 10 times the amount of work.
Absolutely.
That went into it. But then people are just like, oh yeah, well, it tastes better. But they don't know how much work you have to go in for a normal person who is not from a cooking or chef background or not from a restaurant background to realize that it tastes better. It's a lot of work that went into the product.
Do you think HONBO, it was necessary to do so much work to create everything from scratch, to really set yourselves apart from McDonald's, from Shake Shack, from KFC, all these brands that have lived here for quite a while?
I think actually it is necessary just because it's important to me. Because I know that Five Guys and Shake Shack is going to come. I think that when they come, there's more appreciation in burgers, and then there's elevation of burger culture. That burger doesn't only exist in McDonald's. So you want to compete with them, you have to taste better than them. You want the product to taste better than them. The only way is that you actually do the work, right? You put in the groundwork. So for me, I think the most important part is, I guess, go back to like why you started burger, right? That's the question. So because it's something so simple. It's already known how to make it good. But, corporate America have a way to spend $4 million in research so that they don't use fresh tomatoes, in their product. But at the end of the day, if you actually make the buns, grind the meat, and then make your own toppings and make your own sauce, it will taste good. It's not rocket science. Making burger buns is not difficult. Grinding your own meat is not difficult. Making your own pickles is not difficult. The recipe, you can Google it online and you can do it yourself at home and it will probably taste really, really good. But the thing is, we try to do something simple in a very complicated way by, adding all these like scientific process and, mass-produced process into it. We have 4 shops in Hong Kong, but we don't have a central kitchen because we insist on making everything in the kitchen. And we can because it's really not that difficult.
So all the Western products that come outside of Hong Kong are imported directly into those stores and you make them fresh on site?
Yes.
Every day?
Yeah, we do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, you guys are setting yourselves apart from, namely, your 2 big competitors. You've got Shake Shack and you've got Five Guys. What I experience when I go into a HONBO is this is an American burger diner, but it's on another level, like a very sleek, modern take. What is the feeling? What's the meaning behind that? The interior that you experience in every single HONBO store?
I think you're correct, right? We want to have a modernized version of the American diner. And then we want to have all the food that is made, in-house and from scratch. And we want to bring that kind of craft burger joint experience into Hong Kong that it doesn't exist before. Because we're not making burgers to be, cheaper, more price sensitive, compared to our competitors. If you are to look at the burger places in Hong Kong, the people who can actually who can tell you that they make their own buns and grind their own beef, we're probably the only people who can tell that we actually do that. And we are the definition of craft burger place in Hong Kong. And then interior design is basically, for me, is to transform you back, to America, to like that kind of California vibe or like the old school diner vibe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like the white and blue, which people always ask, why do we use blue in a restaurant, right? Because most of the fast food places, they use yellow, orange, more vibrant, appetizing color. But the white and blue actually, I don't know if you heard the story before, but it's actually come from the California ocean, right? Because when you look out in Malibu, right, you see that white and blue color off the coast. And that is why we have that, because we want you to be transformed back to the old school Americana feel to it. And that's why the interior design actually is so important to us, to have all these amazing interior designers that we hired to build out all these shops, is so that people, when they go in there, there is a nostalgia that comes with the food that is not apparent, but you can feel it.
I think obviously as well, the attempt and the success, I would say, of bringing an American identity, an American product to Hong Kong, somewhat does still have to rely on Hong Kong tastes. HONBO, it's an anglicized transliteration of hamburger and Cantonese. As well, the interior to me shouts Instagrammable. The social media shouts Instagrammable. The burgers, how they're created and sort of packaged together on your plate, it's like Dakawe. It's the same exact sort of formula that a lot of restaurants use. Was this something you wanted to emphasize as well? You can put yourself on Instagram and you're going to look amazing every day.
I think it is a byproduct of the interior design. It's not something that we seek out to do, but it's the environment that we want you to sit in and enjoy your food, because we're a full service restaurant. So we're not order at the counter and kind of restaurant. But for me, all the shops are trying to do is to kind of invoke a sense of nostalgia. So for my shop in Tsim Sha Tsui, Macau, they kind of remind me of high school. So and then the shop in Sha Tin is a really old school diner. Sometimes I think about the days, when I was in high school in North America, when I was in university, and then you have all these old school McDonald's. So when I was building it out, the interior design, I always think about nostalgia is such a strong component of food,
Absolutely.
It's such a great seasoning, right, to me. So if you think about all the stuff that you have been when you're a child, and then you're an adult now, and then you can go back It's like you're walking back down that aisle of nostalgia, but now you're having the food that is better, and then you can drink there. So I think that is what inspired the interior design for me. And I think that's why people like to take picture, because it reminds them of something that you don't see anymore. It's I think about the old school McDonald's when you go when you're a kid, right?
I miss those, yeah.
And they don't exist anymore in Hong Kong. So it's important for us to kind of preserve that. That's why we design it to look old school, not just to be completely modern.
What is the sort of reception that you get from Americans or sort of West Coast people coming over? Do they feel like they're eating a bit of slice of America?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We definitely have a lot of comment that's like, they say like really reminds them of home.
Interesting. Do you think you would believe me if I said I've only had one McDonald's burger in my life and more HONBO burgers?
No.
Really? I've had only one McDonald's burger.
Maybe you were too drunk to remember.
It was after work about like 6 o'clock. I was like, I've had some good burgers recently, but I'm going to try my first McDonald's burger.
You've actually never had
I've had one.
In your whole life?
One in my whole life.
You have really good parents.
Yeah.
They probably just barricade McDonald's from you.
I know. But the HONBO burger, there's something in it. It's addicting.
Thank you.
Is there a sort of secret recipe? Is there a secret formula that you go against? Because when I taste a HONBO burger, I don't get that real powerful, overwhelming salt from the burger, but it comes through in the patty. You have really nice, like salty butter that sort of seeps in and sort of leaks all this really oily, salty juice on the onions, on the secret sauce. What is it about the HONBO burger that beats, another burger?
I think it's just good quality beef that is fresh ground, and then the salt is the only seasoning it needs.
Really?
Yeah. And then I think it's what's a little bit different than our competitors, because I think a little bit, sometimes people use like MSG, different sort of additives and seasonings to it, but our only seasoning is salt on the burger.
There's no MSG in the whole restaurant?
No MSG, no additive, no nothing, right? It's just salt and fresh ground black pepper, and then we paired the sauce, and the sauce have that really nice creamy and sweet texture to it that balances everything out. And then we don't have tomatoes, because tomatoes suck in Hong Kong.
Really? Why is that?
Because they're terrible. Yeah. Like the quality of the tomatoes in Hong Kong is just fucking terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better at eating tomatoes. I hate ketchup. And, sometimes...
Hate is a strong word. Why do you hate ketchup?
Imagine having a condiment that tastes so sweet that it sort of like takes away from any other flavor.
Have you ever tried our Heinz crossover burger?
I have not, unfortunately.
You have to come try it. So what we did is that we had a crossover of Heinz, pre-pandemic. So Heinz came up with a challenge to say like, hey, HONBO, can you make a burger that tastes great with only ketchup? So we actually went and did that. So what we did is that we actually, if you think about ketchup, right? What is one thing that that has to go with ketchup?
Mustard.
No, I mean food.
Chips.
Chips, right? Yeah.
Fries.
French fries, yeah.
French fries.
Right? So what we did is that we actually made like a circular hash brown. But what we did is that we deep fried it in beef fat.
Wow.
Yeah. And we only have ketchup in the burger. And the thing that was really great about the burger is that you really didn't think that it needed any more else other than ketchup. So we have like the normal, a burger patty. We have the onions and the pickles. And then we have this golden brown disc of hash brown that is fried in pure beef fat. And we just slice it with ketchup. And then when you eat it, you feel like, you get that. That's why it's called a Heinz burger, because you really didn't need anything else into it. Like even a little bit of mayonnaise, you would think that it was too much. But we actually bring it back, this summer. So you really should come to try it, yeah.
This could be the first time in about 8 years that I've like purposely eaten ketchup. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be awesome.
I'm Ruben, host of the Delish Guestlist podcast, here to tell you that we are published by thebeat.asia, the fastest growing regional publication for F&B news, event coverage, nightlife happenings, youth culture, and more. Check us out at thebeat.asia for the pulse of Hong Kong and beyond. For now, let's circle back to Michael. Back in 2017, did you think you would be at your biggest 4 or 5 stores in deep in Hong Kong? Was there always a need to franchise? It's a simple product. It's a simple store. Did you want to spread the love of HONBO in Hong Kong?
It was always in my plan to open multiple shops in Hong Kong, but I never wanted to franchise it because for me, the quality is really important. And to be able to have that full control over your shop is important to me. So having 4 or 5 stores in Hong Kong was basically what I planned out 5 years ago, like 5-6 years ago. And I'm just trying to realize like that vision.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is it important about where the stores are? You know, McDonald's is on every corner. They've got their catchment zones about how far someone can deliver your burger. But this to me seems a bit more intentional. You know, Harbour City has a great view in TSD looking over the Victoria Harbour. Sha Tin is really spacious. Tsuen Wan is in a really hip, sort of reclaimed factory space.
All the locations are purposely planned out to be that way. So Harbour City, Sha Tin is always in our pipeline to get those locations and to open the space, you know, in that size with that view. Or else we would have never, you know, took those locations. Yeah. So for the meals in Tsuen Wan, it's important to me because all those locations have something in common is that they actually don't have direct traffic in front of it. So I like to create the same vibe that we have in Sun Street, where we are on this pedestrian-only street. You know, you're overseeing, you know, trees and like sky and stuff like that without direct, you know, cars going in front of it. So most of all of the shops are basically there to replicate that kind of feeling. It's like something of like a unique experience in Hong Kong.
I mean, 2 weekends ago, I decided to go to IKEA, but I live in Sai Pun. I could have taken a 20-minute MTR to Causeway Bay, but instead I went to Tsuen Wan because there was a HONBO there.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was like, this is a funky HONBO. You know, the one in Wan Chai, it's a cute sort of like street. The one in Tsuen Wan, it's a bit more open, but it still has that real beautiful sort of color tone. Very friendly staff as well. So going on away from Hong Kong, is the cap at 4 or 5?
No.
Not in Hong Kong.
I think in Hong Kong, maybe we can do 1 or 2 more, but I do feel like there's enough of it to be accessible to most of the people. So I don't think we need more. But in the future, we're focusing more on the APAC market.
So Macau,
yeah, we have
you opened
Macau,
up in summer 2022, yeah.
Yeah, and then now we're opening this summer in Singapore.
Wow.
Yeah.
So going to Macau, you opened up in the Lisboeta Hotel in August 2022. Why? You know, why does Macau need a Hong Kong brand, a burger brand?
I think Macau is a good gateway to the Chinese consumers. So it's great for us to kind of test run to see if our product actually works in a market that have a bigger Chinese clientele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this a test run to see if a HONBO could be a Shanghai product, a Beijing product, a Guangzhou product?
Yeah, definitely. I would think so. But I would say that we have not kind of find a way through to it yet. I think a really tight menu in, you know, Hong Kong, a very westernized, you know, educated society, it works well when the shop is smaller. But when you go to China, you know, you go to Macau, the shop sizes are bigger and you have more seats. And the game is a little bit different. It's because I think if you have a really strong core product, it works well. But people like that seasonality and people like that, you know, kind of variations on the menu.
Is that why?
I don't think we can provide at the moment, I think.
Is that why you do have a varied number over the years, especially during the pandemic when it was a bit more closed off in Hong Kong, where you did have a few more collaborations? So with a Heinz collaboration and then with a number of others, is that where you can innovate and bring in new products, bring in new tastes?
I think for the brand, it's important to have seasonal products that we roll out that people like, and then they will come back for it. Because for me, the collaborations are all great. We have a lot of really successful collaborations with a lot of different brands. But I think what McDonald's and, Shake Shack and our competitors really well is the seasonal items that they push out and then they take away. So like McDonald's have all these Chinese New Year product that's really good. Shake Shack. I think Shake Shack in Hong Kong is probably the only Shake Shack in the world that do seasonal rotations
Really?
of different things. Because if you go to Shake Shack in New York City, they have the same menu.
They just came out with a Nashville burger today.
Yeah. So that's why I think they're very smart to cater towards the Asian market, because I think the Asian market needs that variety.
And with Singapore, why HONBO in there? Is it, I think you mentioned previously, it's a bit more of a sister city, similar tastes, similar market?
I think for Singapore is kind of logical next step for the brand. Because as you mentioned, right, if you are looking at somewhere that's very similar to Hong Kong in the Asia Pacific, I think most of the people, Singapore would come into mind. So, they have a big expat crowd. They have a very strong, socioeconomic background, right, that they can spend on these kind of stuff. And then you don't have to educate them about burgers as well, right, because, they have McDonald's, they have other really great restaurant burger places in Singapore. And I think Singapore and Hong Kong have the same gap in the market, is that if you go to spend money for dining in the middle market kind of segment, it's really, really lacking.
What other markets are you looking at that you can tell us right now?
China, definitely. Japan, Australia. We want to open in places that you can have multiple shops. We want to open in a city that actually understands the food. Like Philippines also, I think, can be a good one. But there's so many cool countries in Asia that I think have an appetite for a really good, classic American burger. And I just don't think that there's an offering there that can satisfy this need. Because you have more and more people, right, who are in Asia, who are affluent, who have studied in North America and Europe or UK, all these other countries, right? So when they go back, they really do want to taste of what is out there. So for us, it is kind of our goal to provide this for the people.
I know my Hong Kong friends who moved to Singapore over the summer, they're going to be very happy that HONBO is opening up.
That's awesome.
But with 3 countries having a HONBO identity, then 4, 5, 6, 7, do you think that's going to open yourselves up to introducing a bit more of that seasonality, a bit more of those local flavors? Or do you think you really want to keep your mainstay?
I think you're correct. Like in the sense that when we open in Macau, when we open in Singapore, right, we really want to incorporate the local flavors into the menu and then bring those back to the other countries. Like in Singapore, we're thinking about like Hainan chicken. Like, is there something we can do a burger there, right? Like when we go to Macau, we think about like, the pork chop bun that you have in Macau, the Portuguese chicken. Is there somewhere that we can incorporate that into a burger? And then can that special be delivered in another country, right? For us, Singapore, like chili crab, all these different local flavors, we really want to get the chefs in the country to incorporate those into the menu and see if we can take these recipes and actually put it back into the shops in the Hong Kong and Singapore so we can all experience those local flavors all around the world.
Is this year 2023 going to be the most exciting in HONBO's history?
I don't know.
Really?
Maybe 24 is more exciting. Or maybe 2025 is more exciting. But I'll let you know in a couple of years which one is the most exciting.
Around what time can people expect to eat some HONBO burgers in Singapore?
July. This year, yeah.
Awesome. My birthday is July 4th, so if you guys can make it around that day, that would be good.
That's great. Are you going to be in Singapore?
Maybe. I might have to come.
Yeah, you have to. Definitely.
Beautiful. Michael, thank you so much for telling us about your story. We're going to go into the rapid fire questions round. We have 15 questions, and we're joined with your wife, Candy, as well, who also works on the HONBO team, helping you to open up Singapore. How's HONBO for you then?
I'm allergic to beef.
You're allergic to beef?
Yeah.
Wow. But you can have the chicken burgers?
I can eat the chicken burger and the Impossible. I usually try it with the Impossible meat.
The good thing is I can't tell the difference between Impossible
I can't.
and real beef.
We actually had a Google review said that it's real beef.
Really?
Remember?
No, when Impossible first launched, we had complaints that we were serving people the wrong shit, like the wrong thing, and then they like angrily said that, how dare you? I'm vegetarian. How do you why you
Really?
serve me like real beef? And I actually post that 1-star review with the
Fan-
Impossible people, and I say that you should post it on your website. We're so good
Fantastic.
at doing this Impossible thing that people think that
It's
it's
real beef.
And it was so funny
Wow.
that they were convinced that it was real beef, and we tell them no, it's really impossible. But they told me, but it's bleeding. I was like, it's part of the products, you know.
What do you miss about eating in Montreal?
Putin.
And what do you miss about eating in LA, Candy?
Salad.
Ugh, you've got. Nah, we don't have good salads here. Who am I kidding?
We know.
This is a question for both of you, and answer very well. Otherwise, I'm going to be upset. Where do you get the best bagels from in the world?
New York City and Montreal.
It's Montreal and then New York City.
I think depends on style. The Montreal style bagel, you can kill someone, you know, with how hard it is.
If you're in Montreal, what bagel are you eating?
Saint Viator.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad would be proud. What about you, Candy?
I've actually never had a good bagel in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
She's never been to Montreal, so she
Yep.
needs to go.
Why?
But Saint Viator is open 24/7. That's the most crazy part about a bagel place.
I mean, there's a lot of places that are open 24 hours in Hong Kong, but you don't get that sort of that prestige.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you prefer a beach holiday or a city trip?
Beach holiday.
City trip.
Where are you traveling this year?
She's going to Tokyo next week.
Yeah.
I'm
Nice.
staying in Hong Kong
Until Singapore.
until Singapore. Yes.
When was the last time you went to Singapore?
Maybe
2 months
2 months,
ago.
a month and a half ago. Month and a half ago.
Just to do some scoping out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
I actually went with Sean Dix.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is Sean Dix, obviously a famous F&B sort of centric architect in Hong Kong, will he be designing the space?
He is designing the space in Singapore.
Wow.
You know, we went to Singapore to just suss out the space together and, you know, take a look, get some inspiration from the local space.
Nice.
Yeah. It was
Can
very
you
fun.
reveal in the sort of area where it is?
It's in Chimes.
Chimes.
In Singapore.
Nice.
So it's very close to the Raffles Hotel where
Nice.
they make the first Singapore sling. So if you're a visitor, you know, going for a tourist drink, you can come have a burger after.
Bit of some history. In a world where you weren't or not operating HONBO, what restaurant chain would you like to open?
Probably a pizza place.
Pizza place?
I think pizza place.
I'll do pasta.
No, but specifically slice joint. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Yeah. Pizza by the slice.
Oh, yeah.
I would definitely love to have a pizza by the slice place.
Is it a
in
New
Hong
York
Kong.
style pizza?
Any style, just by the slice. I just can't. I don't know why it doesn't exist in Hong Kong.
There's a few.
No.
But the few that we know,
Like, yeah, not to mention names. I just think that there needs to be a better pizza by the slice place everywhere in Hong Kong where, you know, you can just grab a slice.
let's hope there's a doctor listening on this podcast that's sort of 1 foot out of the door in the hospital and thinking, I just need to create some restaurants in Hong Kong.
Yeah, even a dentist or chiropractor, anybody who's listening.
What's the weirdest meat you've ever had?
I think
Reindeer.
Really?
I think to be honest, horse and whale is pretty weird to me.
I've only had buffalo. But buffalo is quite...
Yeah, buffalo is very
It's
vanilla,
common.
you know. Buffalo's very vanilla.
I didn't thought it was common, yeah. I had snake in Vietnam and I was like, wow, this is weird. And then obviously
Snake tastes like chicken.
it does. It tastes
Yeah.
like you...
I think snake is actually pretty weird, to be honest.
I had
If you
stir-fried snake. I didn't have snake in a soup. It tastes like it's boiled chicken, eaten, spat out, then put into like a little tube.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So coming back to Hong Kong local, you know, if your friend is visiting in town, where are you taking them? For breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner? Both of you guys.
Dim sum places, for
So
sure.
dim sum for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a good one?
Lok Yu in Central.
What about for lunch?
For lunch.
Probably some kind of roast goose and barbecue meat.
Yeah.
No, I hate yellow.
Really, why?
It's just not very good. I'm sorry. It's really overrated.
Really?
I think so. I think there are people who do it better somewhere else. And for the price that they're charging, I think the interior space is fucking terrible. I wouldn't pay $300 to eat in a茶餐厅, right?
What about for dinner then?
Depends on where they're from. To be honest, the Japanese places in Hong Kong are very strong. So maybe any kind of omakase restaurant would be a good take. If not, then I'll say hot pot because it's a quintessential Hong Kong experience.
Big shout.
Yeah.
What's your guys' favorite neighborhood in Hong Kong to eat in?
For me, probably where we live, Hong Kong, Kowloon side. It's a good neighborhood.
Around Whampoa?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Candy?
I think around here, around Saigon. Yeah, it's my favorite neighborhood.
Yeah, Shengwan Sang Pun's got some interesting...
Clay pot rice is good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now they don't have any long lines.
They don't.
Cold weather stopped, so no one cares about your Botai fan. What is one food that you used to love as a child but now can never eat again? I used to love ketchup when I was a child, and now you guys know the story.
Wow, that's a difficult question.
That is very difficult. What do I like as a child? I think McDonald's. I think McDonald's actually...
Kind of makes sense.
Oh, I think
really up there.
Hardee's for me. Yeah, because I used to live in Ma'anshan. There's a Hardee's in the shopping mall. But then you don't find them anywhere now in Hong Kong. Yeah.
I mean, once you create your own burger chain, it's pretty hard to go back to McDonald's.
I know.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to even finish my own food these days. I think I've had a lifetime full of burgers. So.
What makes you proud to be a Hong Konger?
That diversity, of the city, and it's such, resilient people. And I think that's like
Oh, yeah.
what Hong Kong is about is just fucking so diverse. You have so many different kind of cuisines in here. Not in terms of food, different kind of people. And the people here, they are really, really tough. So it's great.
I think it's a language. I think Cantonese is one of the hardest language to learn.
Yeah, the language too.
Yeah.
Nobody can swear like Hong Kong people.
Absolutely.
Very, very creative people too when it comes to swearing.
Yeah.
Or anything else, to be honest.
I know when someone's talking about my mother, but don't really know the context there.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part or thing about Cantonese cuisine?
Dim sum, 100%. Barbecue meat.
I think
Very
barbecue
different.
char siu.
Yeah, barbecue meat and dim sum. Very difficult. You basically cannot have it any other where in the world.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing like it. What has been both of your proudest moments of your F&B career?
To survive COVID is my proudest moment.
Good.
I think
For now.
events.
To survive COVID for now.
For now.
Yeah.
COVID has ended, but survival?
Survival. I think being able to be in the business, for more than 5 years
Yes.
is something that I'm
Crazy.
really proud of because it has been tremendously difficult to last until today at that, operating condition.
So beyond Singapore, my final question is, what are you guys cooking up in the next few months that you guys want to share with the Delish guest list?
I think you guys who are listening from Quarry Bay can, be excited of something to come soon.
Very ominous, but interesting.
But it might or might not be HONBO.
Well, thank you guys for coming on the podcast.
No worries.
It's been amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Cool.
Nice.
Keep your finger on the pulse and tap follow to keep up with the Beat Asia to hear more colorful chats and rich stories. This episode is hosted by myself, Ruben Verabes. Big shout out to Michael Chan for coming on the Delish guest list to share his story. Our producer for this episode is Marcus Tremer, and we are edited by Natsuki Arita. That's all for this episode. See you in the next one.